Hi everyone, back again with my knives. I decided to do another knife video. I'm not outside doing a lot right now because I am still recuperating a bit from that spill I took. I don't know if you guys saw some of my other videos before, talking about my knees gave out on me there and I went down and tried to work for a little while. I'm back to work now. I'm working light duty. But it's terrible outside for weather. So I decided to do some videos inside for now until I can get back out there and do some really nice stuff. Well, first off, I wanted to take you through my bushcraft life and my knives. This guy here is the one that really started everything for me. It's a bit of a story behind this, and I wouldn't mind hearing your guys' stories about it too. If you have a piece of gear that you still have, that you started out with, they get you into the outdoors, the bushcraft, hunting, fishing, whatever. A piece of gear that got you out into the woods and kept you there for a while and made you continue on. So originally I had, in this case, as you can see, is in really hard shape. This was actually from my first, remember those old Rambo knives, those survival knives? Those pieces of shit that had the little, well, it's coming right off, but they had the little, really, Jesus, I don't even know if that button will open anymore. That really jerked off little stone that fit in here, the sharpening stone, which was like probably a 300 grit or something. It was terrible. And they had the screw off cap with the compass on it, and the fishing hooks and the little piece of wire that did nothing. You pulled the saw like twice and it snapped. Well, I had that for all of about half a day maybe, and it was all hollow. The handle was hollow and metal, and they had the knife blade come in, and there was a short little bolt on it with a nut, and it screwed on, and the first couple whacks snapped the handle right off. I was pretty depressed about it because, you know, I wanted a Rambo knife. So went to, I believe it was Canadian Tire, found this guy. Now this guy had a maroonish, it was supposed to look like the what's it called, that leather, stacked leather, I can't remember what it's called, a handle. Some remembers, they can comment down below what it's actually called. But it was just plastic. But it was a big old Bowie knife, and this is what got me into the woods and kept me there. It's not in greatest shape anymore. You see the
Guard.
the guard. Thank you, Cameron. The guard here is all loose on it, but it is a full tang. You can see if I move that blade. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but the butt of the knife here is actually moving with it. It is a full tang knife. It's a high carbon steel. I don't know what it is. It's some mystery steel. So I'm sure it's Chinese. But it takes a great edge. Doesn't stay long, but it does take a really good edge. I'm going to try to bring this in close. You can see how much steel I've actually taken off of this thing over the years, sharpening it. It's been through a lot, I tell you. Built my first serious shelter with this. Used it and it alone to chop down trees. Did everything with it. Split up my firewood. I've had this hunting many times. Thrown it at trees, stumps, batoned with it. You name it, I've done it with it. It's been fixed up a bit. I gave this to my son, and the back end of it here was all banged up where I've hit it with friggin' hammers and, oh Christ, I hit this thing with everything. It was in pretty hard shape. It was all rusty and sap covered and whatnot. You can still see a little bit of rust here. He's done quite a bit of good job cleaning it up. I asked him to lend this to me for this video. I don't use it anymore, of course, because I moved on from that. But it'll always have a special place in my heart, this knife. Just feeling it in my hands again, I feel like going chopping something. Oh yeah, I love this knife. Man, I wish I wouldn't have given it to him now. Anyway, let's put this away. Enough of that. So yeah, if you guys get any kind of gear that, you know, got you into the woods, I'd like to hear about it. Or if you want to make a video too, that would be great. This next knife also is very, very dear to my heart. My father gave this to me when he gave up hunting. He had rheumatoid arthritis, and he gave me all his guns. And he gave me this knife as well. He got this knife when he was 13 years old, I believe he told me. And it's a beauty. It's a Queen's Cutlery skinning knife. And it's like a fine little, it's just a beautiful knife. These are bone handles. It shrunk some over the years. You can see that it doesn't quite match up with the guard here anymore. It's full tang. It's a really nice little knife. And this thing here, I tell you, it takes an edge and it holds an edge. You can skin a whole deer with this, and it's still just as sharp as it was when you started. I'm not sure the steel. It does say something here. You know, I don't think I've ever looked at this before. So you guys gotta get the old. Yep, I'm at that age now. I need these guys to see really good up close. Let's see if I can see what that says. It says steel, and there's a symbol before it. Oh. It's the Queen's Cutlery symbol, which is this symbol right here with this big Q. If you can see that well. This is the original leather sheath as well. I've got to get this fixed up. Some of the stitching is starting to go a little bit. This, unfortunately, is ready to come off. I've actually sewn this back together, this little clasp here, with some string. I take it very carefully with this knife now. I don't use it anymore. I would like to get this sheath fixed up. I'd like to keep the original sheath. I could try to find some leather worker around here that'll to do this work up for me. This is a very, very nice, precious knife to me. I'm sure this one will be passed down to my son as well when that time comes. When I started to get into hunting serious myself, that was a nice knife. It really was, but it wasn't doing everything I wanted to do because it wasn't big enough. So this is before bushcraft come along. Like, I'm 47 years old. Before bushcraft was a big thing. I needed a knife that was a combination of a good steel, a good skinner, and something I could do a little chopping and stuff with. I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was young. I was working at a gas station. So I did find this Canadian Tire, and at the time I believe this was about $35, which was quite a bit for a knife for me at the time. It's a buffalo skinner. It's you see from the sheath here, if you can read that or not. See if I can read this myself. It's Rich A. Herder from Solingen, Germany. Good German steel. And it doesn't say, it says original buffalo skinner on it. And it says the same thing as here, and it's got the symbol, that diamond. It doesn't say what kind of steel it is, but it's a good German steel. Now this one here, I know it's a good steel because it takes quite a bit to sharpen this off once it does dull down. But geez, once she takes an edge, it's the same as this one here. You know, you can skin a whole deer and it's just as sharp as when you started it. This thing has had a good life too. As you can tell by looking at the blade, I use my knives and I use them hard. This thing does rust up very easily because it's a high carbon steel. You got to keep it oiled, and sometimes if you do notice and you've neglected it a little bit, you will get a little bit of rust, but some nice 600 grit sandpaper will usually take that right away. I'm not real big in keeping my knives all pristine anyway, because they are users. I use all my knives. Well, except for this one now. So up until just about, of course, I've had some other knives too that have come and gone, but they were nothing serious at all. Up until about 2-3 years ago, I'm not sure exactly when, I made this knife from an old file. Saw it on YouTube where people were taking old bastard files and they were heating them up and taking the temper out of them and reforming them and whatnot. And I went, well, you can do that, and you go through the whole thing of heat treating them again to give them that temper back. But I didn't want to lose that. So what I did is I just took the grinder, and it took a hell of a lot of work, and I just ground the living shit out of this thing. And, it's not a beautiful looking thing. As you can see, it's been used too and abused. But I left all the old file markings on this. You see on the back too. It actually works really good as a fire striker. That thing will just throw the sparks like a son of a whore. It still needs some more work. I didn't really know a lot about grind at the time either. I know I like a flat grind. Excuse me, that was before I was introduced to skinny grinds and all that. I kind of tried to do that. It's still a little too thick here. Like it's a good, thick, chunky knife. This thing is, it's a strong son of a bitch, I tell you. It'll take a licking. It's quite heavy. I could do some more work to this. For sure. But I'm quite happy with it. A guy I work with had a big old piece of ash at his house, and I told him I was looking for some nice scales for my knife I was building, and he brought me in just a big block, like a log, like a stove wood, of a nice piece of ash that didn't have any knots or anything in it. It was quite nice, so I cut them all down, and that's what I used to make this handle with. It come out quite good, I think. I didn't put any pins in it. Because I didn't take the temper off the steel, it still stayed hard. I really couldn't get a drill bit through it. So what I did was I just took some, it's called underwater epoxy. My father-in-law has a pool, and he had to put a couple patches in it. And so I used some of that underwater epoxy, and I left, you can probably see right, I don't know if you can see that or not, right along that spine, you can still see the old filing lines in that. I left those in there to help grab that epoxy. So after I did that, I finished off with some varnish. I probably shouldn't have done that. I might even strip that varnish off sometime, because you can see a couple spots if you can see it really close, and in person you can see it as well. It's starting to come off a little bit. I think I might take that off someday and actually do that with some linseed oil, some boiled linseed oil, and make that nice. As for the case, I was over to Johnson's True Value one day and asked them if they had any old cases there that might fit this. I took the knife with me, and lo and behold, this thing fit right in. Hard to believe. They sold it to me because it was just sitting there with no knife for it or anything. So they sold it to me for like $5, I think. It works good. You can, dangle it here. It's also got a place you can put it on your belt for belt strap. So after I made this knife, I do make some stone axes, and I make some primitive tools and stuff myself a little bit. And I met Maritime Spook. You guys, I don't know if you know him or not. Here on YouTube, he does a lot of knife videos. He does gear videos. He's got a great channel. Go check him out if you haven't already. I'm talking to him anyway, and so he was telling me about these Moras and all these other knives he has, and so I told him I made stone axes, and I said that he'd be interested in a trade. So I made him up stone axe. He's got a video out there of that too if you want to check that out sometime. But he gave me this more robust in exchange for that. I know that, these aren't worth a whole lot of money, but my God, I love this knife. This thing keeps an edge really well, just as well as this German blade does, I believe. It is nice and thick too. I like that. I took this and actually put a 90 on it. These more robust come rounded. So I took my grinder and I ground that off and to put a nice 90 on it. Now she just throws the sparks with the fire steel. And it comes in this original case. This is a bit of rawhide that I took. I don't know if I talked about this, and I think I did in another video of mine. Anyway, I modified it a bit. I put my fire steel on it. This is one of these Light My fire steels. So I just wrapped that around there and let it dry. And so it took the form of this. So that fits in there really nice and doesn't come out. So yeah, now if I want to use my fire steel, it's just, you know, I don't want to catch my blanket on fire here, so I'm not going to strike that very hard. Actually struck it harder than I thought I was going to. Yeah. So that was my foray into Moras. So from there, I went to Spookterm. He told me about another town just about 30 minutes away, St. George. They have a home hardware store there that they carry Moras. So I went to see what they had, and I come across these guys. This is just a Mora, I can't remember the model of this now. But it was a carpentry knife, I think. This was called, or carving knife. And that's what I use it for. I do a little bit of carving with it. Great edge. This is a stainless steel, I believe. Or is this, no, yeah, this is stainless steel. Keeps a good edge. Great knife for carving. The handle fits my hand really well. It's nice and smooth. I can carve with this for quite some time. And it doesn't bother my hands. And, you know, you can choke up on it with your thumb, do what you need. It's got a great guard here to keep you from your hand from slipping up on it. Good little knife. And, again, not very much. Do you remember how much I paid for this, Cameron? $11 maybe?
I think it was 11. Yeah.
No. Was this?
I think that one was cheaper.
Yeah, I think this one actually was under $10. I think it was $9.95. And I believe this Mora here was $11.
Yeah, something like that.
I got this at the same time. This one's a high carbon steel, and this one's a Mora. It says Mora of Sweden carbon steel. You see that? It's similar to my Robust, but you know, it's not as thick. It does have that rounded spine. I haven't flattened that out yet with my grinder. Got a great blade on it. I haven't used this one that much actually. I tend to use my Robust when I'm out in the woods. If I'm doing some carving, I'll use this. And this one I haven't actually used that much. I'm going to have to start using it some. Again, it's got that great guard. Nice handle. It's good. It's probably not as comfortable if I were to use it for a long period of time carving as this Mora. And the nice thing about these Moras too, if I didn't have this on here, it may still work. I can stack these on top of each other. It comes with that system so that you can stack the knives right on top of each other. So after that, I was kind of missing my old. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I did call this knife Bertha as well. I don't know how I come up with the name, and but anyway, that's her name. Her name's Bertha. I was kind of missing Bertha. I didn't have a nice, good chopping knife. Well, I did have a machete. I might show you that in another video sometime. But I didn't have a nice chopping knife. This thing came up in Canadian Tire, and I saw it in a flyer. I picked one up for me and my son. It's an Outbound. It's a cheap Chinese steel, but it's not that bad. It was 420C, I believe, or 440C. 420C. Yeah, 420 steel, high carbon. Doesn't, you know, it sharpens up nice. You can get it nice shaving sharp, and it'll keep its. It won't keep its edge that long. But now I have something that's not as good as the old Bertha, but something that's got a little bit of weight to it. I can do some chopping with. I don't carry it with me that often. Haven't really used it that much. As you can tell, it's still in pretty good shape. But I plan on fixing that this summer or the spring. Get out there and do some chopping with it and whatnot. Put it through its paces. Not much to say about that. Just a cheap knife I picked up. My brother-in-law works on a boat, and they harvest salmon from salmon cages. And he was telling me about these Moras they use, and this is an old one he had. So he gave it to me. The handle's all ripped up. It's been used a lot. Very unique knife. It's got this ball at the end of it. They use this for gilling fish, for bleeding them out. They'll go into the gills and bleed them out. And they also use these too for cleaning the fish. The nice thing is with this ball on the end, when you go into that hole in the bottom, the piss hole or whatever it is, shit hole, in the bottom, that'll go through, and when you're going up, you can run that right along the backbone, and it won't cut into the flesh or the backbone. You just get that fish nice and smooth, and you don't have to worry about cutting up the meat in the inside of it. It's well, actually it's Frost, but it says Frost Mora. You can see that if it'll zoom in there. This is it says it's a 950 is the model, made in Sweden. Not sure exactly the steel. It says high carbon, no stain. So high carbon stainless, I guess. Don't know a whole lot about it, but it was kind of an interesting knife and nice to add to the collection. So, this is my first Gorman. I've been interested in Gorman knives. They're made in Nova Scotia, Pictou County, Nova Scotia. I ordered, what's that? Oh. I ordered this as a second. They made these, they were commissioned, I believe the story was, a bunch of rangers from the States. They commissioned Gorman to make them some knives. And this is what they came up with. There's an S stamped on the back of this, and if you can see that or not, that's to indicate that it's a second. Because the fit and finish on this isn't the best. Because I paid, I think it was less than half price for this, because it is a second. And there's an S stamp right here as well too, so you can see that it is a second. So people know, like little things like there's just a tiny little mark here where it doesn't quite meet the guard, the handle. There's very, very little wrong with this. If you run your finger along here, it isn't exactly smooth with the handle like you would get from, you know, a first run knife. It is a second. But the steel is still Gorman steel. It's a Canadian made knife, made here in Nova Scotia. I like that. And it's a very, very sharp knife. You don't know what Gorman knives are, check them out online. They make world-class knives. They make the knives for the Canadian military. They make world-class chef's knives. I bought my son, me and my son do a bit of cooking. My son more than myself now. He's a really good cook actually. And I bought him a chef knife and a paring knife last year from them. Very, very top notch. High quality knives. I suggest if you get a chance to check them out and pick one up, do so. I haven't used this a whole lot, haven't had a lot of a chance to, because shortly after I got this.
Can I stop you for a sec?
Yeah.
It's Groman.
What did I say?
Gorman.
Oh my.
You always do that.
Well, I did that bit out.
Nah. I'm leaving this in.
Well, I wanted to tell anyway. My son just informed me I do this all the time. It's Groman. I don't know why I call it Gorman. It's just me. It's Groman knives. I'm sorry about that. Yes, he's completely right. I don't know why I call them Gorman. It's Groman. So anyway, shortly after that, my soon-to-be brother-in-law gave me this, which is a Canadian belt knife that is issued to the military. This is an actual Army-issued Groman knife. He left the lanyard on it for me. I just haven't taken it off. I usually don't use a lanyard, but I left it on because I might start using them. You see it's been used quite a bit. A lot of people, I know when I first started seeing these, I went, oh, that's got an odd shaped knife. It looks more like a kitchen knife. And it does look like a kitchen knife, but if you actually get to use one of these sometime, you'll know it's not a kitchen knife. This is the best bushcraft knife I have owned and used. I do baton like a son of a bitch. It's got a nice 90 on the back of that that'll throw sparks like crazy. And this kind of slope to it is fantastic for meal prep. For when you're cutting up vegetables or anything like that, it is fantastic. And it looks odd, but it works really, really well when you're doing feather sticks or cutting notches. That form really, really works well. Better than I find it better than a nice straight edge or one that drops down a bit. It really works. If you ever get a chance to try one of these, or if for whatever reason you're around my area and you see me, or if I'm at I'm gonna try to go to the get together there this year. If you see me there, I'll have this on me. Ask me to use it. I don't know where they're having it this year. I'm going to find out. It was in Nova Scotia last year, I believe. They have it for the Atlantic Province this year. So anyway, I plan on going. If you see me there, ask me. I'll be more than happy to let you try this out and see how it is. It's a fantastic knife. Use it all the time. I love it. It's got a little jimping on the top. It's got those 3 nice pins in the handle. The fit and the finish is just immaculate. Everything is just smooth, and I keep going out of frame here. Sorry about that, guys. It's just really, really, really nice. It's got that good little choil here to keep your fingers from flipping off. It fits in their hand nice. It's a really nice shape. It's narrower here on the front, and you can hold it in different grips, and it's always very comfortable in your hand. So that's about it for my knives right now. I'm sure I'll get more in the future, and I'll keep you guys up to date. But that's about it for now. And like I said before in the beginning, if you do have a piece of gear that gets you into the woods and kept you there, I'd like to hear about it in the comments down below, or make your own video and do a video response or whatever. That would be great. I'd be very, very appreciative if you guys would like, comment, and share. I'm trying to grow my channel. Actually, I'm quite surprised. I've only been at this for maybe a month now, and I've got 36 subscribers so far, which isn't too bad. But if anybody would like to share this videos, please do. I'd be very appreciative of that. I get a couple more ideas for videos coming up. Don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet and when I'm going to be doing them, but I do have some ideas. So keep tuned. See you then.